It is all about condiments today in the sartorial kitchen. I'm kicking things off with my cheddar ranch cornbread, using that as the base for some open-faced pulled pork sandwiches. Of course, I'm roasting my own pork and dressing it up with my own homemade dressing. And of course, you can't have pork without slaw. I'm making my own dressing for that as well and jazzing it up with some limes and apples. Then my friend Phil is showing me a fun take on the classic French onion soup, and we're washing all that down with some fresh squeezed lemonade. So why don't you pull up a chair and dine with us?
Welcome back, guys. As you can see, I am not in the sartorial kitchen. I am with my friends Phil and Marcia. We're doing a huge barbecue feast today featuring condiments. I'm sure you got that from the title. And the main dish for today's menu is pulled pork. And this has been going in my slow cooker all night, and I'm going to show you right now how I set that up.
First, I baste the meat in a mixture of olive oil and Dijon. That's going to keep everything moist and give something for a rub to stick to. And speaking of rub, it's a cup of brown sugar and a tablespoon each of salt and pepper. Then 2 teaspoons each of garlic and onion powder, a teaspoon of cayenne and a teaspoon of cumin. Then mix everything up real good and generously apply it to the meat until it's fully covered. Then it plops into the slow cooker for about 8 to 10 hours or about 12 to 15 minutes per pound.
So, let's section this off. I think it'll be easier to pull if we do it in sections. Oh, and you can see the way that knife is going through here. This is just really good and tender. And then I've got my claws here. Let's see if we can get this out. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's perfect. And listen to that crust. That's so good. So, let's try a piece real quick.
Let's do.
Before we get all the sauce and everything on it. We'll slice a little piece.
Thank you.
And that has that rub on it that you just saw how I made. Right. And the way the fat renders down and everything, so good. So, if you want to start shredding this for me,
right.
I'm going to work on our cornbread. So, I'm doing, this is one of those semi-homemade recipes. And it's a 3-2-1, so it's 3 eggs, 2 boxes of Jiffy Mix, and a 16-ounce bottle of Hidden Valley Ranch. It's going to be a ranch cornbread. And then I've got a couple other things I'm going to do here just to make it extra. So first we're going to start with our wet ingredients. I like to do the eggs first so I can watch for eggshells. And speaking of eggs, I've got some beautiful farm-raised eggs here from a friend of theirs. And you can really tell a difference between store-bought eggs and the farm fresh. The yolk, it's just a much richer color, and the yolk's actually a little larger even.
I feel like Wolverine over here.
Those are fun. I got those when I was working in the kitchen at that school, and they really make quick work of everything.
Yes, they do.
Now, I'm going to use this whole container here. Which sounds like a lot, but this is all of our wet ingredients. So, and just the whole thing. And the thing about this, so ranch, it's made with mayonnaise, so that's our fat. And then it also gives us any kind of milk or water that you would add to this recipe. So it's really an all-in-one. And then you're going to get that zesty flavor from the ranch itself. So it's just going to give it a little zing. You think you're having cornbread and you bite it, ooh, what's this? It's going to be exciting. And I'm going to mix that up first just to kind of break up the yolks and bring all that together. And I love that color. It's almost like a honey mustard. And then we will move to our mix. So, you know, I always love to sift my dry ingredients, and I've got a little makeshift sifter here. So flour especially, but anytime I'm using box mixes, you don't know how refined something is. I love to sift it. It really lightens everything up, and it allows all the dry ingredients to incorporate nicely. So we'll just pop these open. It's
I got
tempting.
hot.
It's tempting.
That's good.
I snuck a piece earlier when I was checking the temp on it.
It's tender.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's why I like the crock pot. Low and slow is the way to go, because you can do it in the oven as well, but sometimes you worry about it like drying out, and it's really better that way. And then you get to save all that fat and stuff, which I'm actually going to be using. Some of that fat is going into the barbecue sauce. All those drippings, because it asked for water, but I'm like, why not use the pan drippings? Like, and then I'm going to add a little salt here, about a half teaspoon, and just a little cayenne, just to give it something. With the ranch in here, I think it can stand up to having a little heat. So I'm going to do about a quarter teaspoon of that, just enough that you know it's in there. And then we just give this a little tap. And as you can see on top, we have all these lumps. That's exactly why I'm doing this, because I'm going to get all these lumps out. Alright, then we just come back in here with our whisk. And I don't like to overmix either, because that overdevelops the gluten. And then you end up with a really dense, chewy product. So I just like to come underneath, and then I just kind of fold the wet over the dry. And then you also prevent your dry ingredients going all over the place when you do it this way, instead of like vigorously whisking. You can do this in like a mixer too if you want, but it's really not a big deal to do it by hand. You can see this came together very quickly. And I just want to make sure all the dry is incorporated into the wet. And I think it is. So then we're going to come over here to our 13 by 9. I pre-greased this to keep the batter from sticking, and we're going to pour it right in. And then you can take your whisk. I'm going to make sure we get all this batter out of here. Leave nothing behind. Just want to spread this out. I want to make sure everything is a nice even layer so it cooks at the same time. Otherwise you'll have parts that are higher than others and it doesn't all come together quite right. And this is going to go in the oven. I've already preheated it to 375. It's going to cook for about 20 to 25 minutes or until a toothpick comes out clean. And while that bakes, we will start working on our barbecue sauce. Alright, Phil has finished the pork. We got a lot out of that. And I'm going to go ahead and make the sauce. So we're going to start with ketchup. And we need about 2 cups, which I know is a lot, but we got a lot of pork here, so we're making a lot of sauce. I'm only going to like lightly sauce the meat, and then I'll have some sauce on the sides if people want to add some extra sauce. I'm going to set up a little station. People can dress up their pork how they want it. We're going kind of open face. And I also need about a half cup of honey. The honey is going to be our sweetness. I'm not using any brown sugar or anything like that. And then I also want a half cup of syrup. This is some good fancy syrup, bourbon barrel aged. So that's going to be all of our sweetness. Apple cider vinegar, that's going to give us our tang, our acidity. And I want about just a 1/4 cup of that. This is really strong, we don't need a whole lot. Alright, then I got some Dijon here. You can use any kind of mustard you like. I like the Dijon because it has a nice little kick to it. Anything but like that plain yellow stadium mustard, there really isn't much going on there. So there's that. I need some Worcestershire, also about 2 tablespoons. This is going to give a nice little kind of salt bomb. I need just a couple dashes of this. You know I'm a spice wimp, so I don't do a lot of hot sauce, but I just want a few little dashes. it some personality. Then we need some garlic powder and some onion powder. About 2 teaspoons each.
Did I hear you say Worcestershire sauce?
I call it Worcestershire.
Do you know how it got its name?
I do not.
There years ago, there was an old gentleman, this is back probably over 100 years ago, went into this real fancy restaurant and ordered a steak. And they brought the steak out of the table and served it, and then the waiter brought out this bottle of brown stuff. And the guy that ordered steak says, "What's this here sauce?"
That's good. I like that. Alright, about 1.5 teaspoons of pepper. And a couple teaspoons of salt. And I have one final ingredient, little special ingredient. And that is some of this braising liquid. I left this in the crock pot. Normally I would add water to a recipe like this, but I thought, you know, this is liquid here, and it's got all the flavors from that rub that I did, and the juices from the pork, so why not? And I want, I need about a 1/2 cup of this. And that's pretty good, and that's just going to go right in, and it's just going to give us a lot of little lovely flavor there. And we just mix it up. I got my whisk here, and I just come in here and stir everything together. And I think that looks pretty good. You don't want your sauce to be too runny, but you also don't want it to be too thick. So it kind of holds up, and I think that's pretty good. So I first want to give it a little taste. Just to make sure that I have it exactly how I want it.
Well,
I like it.
You
Give
like
a
it?
taste.
I like a good barbecue sauce. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mmm.
And you can taste like the fat from the pork.
Oh, that's you need to bottle that stuff.
I'll work on that.
Mm.
Okay, so I'm gonna come in here. I'm gonna grab some of this sauce. And we'll go in stages. I'll do a little sauce and I'll mix it up. And we can always add more if we need to. I'm gonna leave the rest on the side if anybody wants extra sauce. Some people like more sauce than others, so I like to let people kind of sauce everything themselves. And then we'll come in here with just a little spoon here. And I'll just kind of turn everything over just to make sure everything gets nicely coated. And this is a lot of meat, so like I said, you may need to add more sauce as you go. And I'm definitely going to be adding a little more sauce here. That should do us. Alright guys, cornbread is ready to come out. We are prepping our cabbage for the coleslaw. Doesn't that look good? Nice and golden brown, and it's nice and soft. I'm going to let this cool down. I have a little rack here. Anytime I bake anything, cakes, cookies, anything, I always elevate so air can get underneath. Everything cools evenly, and you'll have an easier time pulling this out of the pan.
So what I'm going to make here is it's a grilled onion. I found this recipe on Food Channel several years ago, and it's a wonderful, wonderful appetizer. You put it on the grill, and ultimately what we're going to get done here is it's going to really taste like French onion soup, but you want to get a large sweet onion. Vidalias I prefer, but sometimes you can't get Vidalia. So we're going to peel off. I'm going to show you how to do this. It's really simple. I got 2 ingredients. I've got the onion, I've got bouillon cube, and then we're going to use mozzarella cheese. And so the first thing you do, you want to peel it, and then you want to core it out a little bit. You want to have a place to put your butter and your bouillon cube. And if you get a hole down in there about like that, then you want to make cuts in it, about 8 of them. Don't go all the way through, you know, the blooming onions you get. That's kind of what we're trying to shoot for here, but we don't go all the way through. And I typically make about 8 cuts. Alright. See, it's starting to fall apart. I'm going to cut too deep. That's alright though, you know, it's all good. So here's the onion that's cut, and then we're going to take a bouillon cube, beef, I should say beef, don't put chicken in there, I don't think it'd be any good. And then take your butter and cram as much butter down in there as you can get. Alright, down, spread it all over. I'll cut some pieces and cram it down in there.
I always say the more butter the better.
Oh, yeah. Better butter, bigger bit of butter. So while that's sitting there, next thing, I don't have, well, this is heavy duty. Get your foil, and you can wrap them in foil and put them on the grill. You can put them in the oven. There it is. That's all there is to it.
Nice.
Take your foil, kind of bring it up. You want to kind of make like a volcano out of it, so when you get ready to put your mozzarella cheese on it, you can get to it pretty easy. But that's all there is, and you put it on the grill, high. It takes about an hour to cook. You set it on there and let it do its thing. The butter melts.
I love set it and forget it recipes. That's perfect.
Yeah, it's easy and it's wonderful. I've not had one person complain about this when they've tried it.
I'm excited to try it. That sounds really
You'll
good.
love it. I guarantee it. So we'll go put this on the grill.
Awesome. Alright, we're working on our slaw dressing now. Phil has gone to the trouble of shredding all that cabbage for me. We forgot the slaw mix, so we had to go buy a head of cabbage. And I'm starting with mayonnaise, about a whole cup. And then to that, because mayonnaise, it's really glucose. I like to add things to it to change it up some. So I've also got some sour cream here. And this is about half the container, so probably about a half cup. For the rest of our wet ingredients, some Dijon mustard, a teaspoon of that. And I also need about a 1/4 cup of honey. And about a 1/4 cup of some more of our apple cider vinegar. That's going to be our acid. It's going to give us some nice little tang. It's going to help thin everything out. And then for my secret ingredient, little lime here. It's going to add some nice freshness. I always roll my citrus because it releases those juices, it releases those oils. We're going to start with a little zest. It's going to really freshen things up and give it a nice kind of floral quality. And make sure you don't go too far into the lime, because then it gets bitter. You just want that outer green section. And I'm only going to do about half this lime. That's going to be just plenty. And that should be good. We always check the back for stragglers. And then we're going to cut this baby open. Give it a nice little squeeze. If you have a juicer, you can use that, or you can just kind of come in here, strong hands, get as much juice out of that as you can. Then I need some salt, some pepper, and some celery seed. About a half teaspoon of celery seed. And then about a teaspoon of salt. And a teaspoon of pepper. Mix it up. And you can see it's like nice and creamy.
What's this here sauce?
This is my slaw dressing. You want to give it a little taste?
Absolutely. I won't refuse a taste.
Go for it.
All right.
See if it's as good as my barbecue sauce.
It's good. It's different.
Yeah.
That's
That's the lime.
Yeah, there's a yeah, it's the lime. You taste it.
Yeah, some cabbage and a little apple. I thought that would shake things up. And you can peel it if you want, but you don't have to. The skin is perfectly edible. I just come around all four sides here and cut around the core. And this is where knife cuts really come into play, because you want nice uniform sized pieces. And I just come in about an 1/8 inch thick. And I'm using a Granny Smith because it's nice and tart, so it's going to give us that perfect little fresh bite. So good. Okay, that is it for the apple. And then what I like to do, I always start with the sauce first. And then I throw everything into the sauce. And then you just mix it together. It makes it a lot easier. So we'll start with the apple here. Make sure we pull that apart. And then we'll add our slaw. I'll probably start with about half of this, just until I get it kind of mixed in well. And then we'll add the rest of it. And again, just like I did with the cornbread batter, we come in here, come underneath, and just kind of fold it up. And then once it's mixed pretty good, we can add the rest of our slaw. Alright, I think we're good. I'm going to set this in the fridge to let it chill, just so those veggies have time to break down a little bit in this dressing and all come together.
So I have to wait to taste it.
Well, you can take a piece now if you want.
Oh, absolutely.
Good for it.
All right.
Oh, that's what I like. Alright, then we just got to set up our cornbread for the open face. Check on our onions. And I think we'll be ready to go.
So our onions have been cooking now for just about an hour.
Yeah, I'm excited to check these out.
And we've got the individual one, the one we just prepared. It's ready. We've got 4 others in this big pan. They're not quite ready yet, but what we do at the end, if you look down in there, the butter's all melted and
Oh, that's gorgeous.
the
I love that.
bouillon
Caramelized onions are like one of the best things ever.
And then to top them off, we'll put some mozzarella cheese on there. And then we'll close it back up. And
So it really is like a French onion.
It is.
That's,
I mean, if we put some bread on it, I
and
think
it smells
it'll be good.
amazing. You guys can't smell this at home, but this smells incredible.
And then we'll close it back up and leave it on there for a few more minutes and let that melt real well.
Sounds good.
And then we'll eat it.
Okay, let's turn this cornbread over and see how we did. It should plop right out. And it has. I'm going to turn this right back over. That's perfect. Everybody have their own little piece. So I'll set that aside. You can't have a meal like this without a drink. So we're doing some homemade lemonade. And I'm not using sugar, I'm using honey. We're trying to stay healthy here. And then I'm going to roll some of my citrus here. It's going to be more like a limonade. I've got some limes as well. I saw a bag with them mixed. I hadn't seen that before, so I thought it would be fun to do both. And we're going to zest some of these. Just a little of the lime and a little of the lemon. It's going to really brighten all this up and cut through some of the harsh acidity of everything. Beautiful. And let's juice our citrus. Alright, and there's the lime. So that made about a cup each almost. So it's usually a 2-to-1 ratio. So we got a cup of the honey for the sweetness, and then we've got our citrus. And then I'm gonna make make sure I get all the juice off of this. I like using it because it catches all the seeds. It's a lot easier than having to fish the seeds out later. And this pitcher has a lovely little blender in it for us, but we need some water first. So we stick this on, and you literally just up and down, and it mixes everything together. And we really just want to go until that honey completely dissolves and it all comes together.
Sous Chef Phil to serve you, sir.
All right, let's just give this a little taste. Make sure it's not too sour, too sweet.
Cheers.
Cheers. I like it.
Refreshing.
Yeah. All right, well, we need to pull our onions off the grill, and we will be ready to plate up. Okay, time to plate up. I'm going to take a couple pieces here. So the cornbread's going to be our bread. It's going to be like an open face. And I'm just going to take these and kind of break them in half, so you get that exposed inside. And I may just take 3 pieces. They're pretty big. Then I'm going to take some of my meat. Just right on top. And then I want a little more of my sauce. And then you can have it like this. I also have some little goodies to put on top. Some green onion. I got some bacon bits, real bacon bits. Not that plastic stuff you find with the salad dressing. And some cheddar cheese. This is a triple cheddar blend. And it's almost like a loaded nacho. And then I want to get some of my slaw here, which you can also put on top if you want. But I want to have just a little on the side so I can taste it separately. And these gorgeous onions, I'm very excited. We got a spoon out for these.
Oh, did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll just
Let's see if they'll work.
chop this one in half, I think. Just enough to taste it. I can always come back to that one. Oh, that looks really. It looks good. I'm like crazy excited. And there we go.
Delicious.
Yes, I'm so excited. Alright, I'm going to start with the meat. I want to make sure I get everything on one bite.
Why do they call red fish is red when they're actually not red?
It's really good. Jordan's already gone back for seconds. It's delicious.
Nice. Oh, so good. The cornbread, it's nice and soft, but it's like you got that crust on the outside.
Mm-hmm. That's perfect.
The meat is still nice and moist and tender. And that sauce is perfect. It's sweet, it's hot, it's tangy. And I really want to try these onions.
They're good.
I've never had these before.
They're really good.
Super excited. I'm not a big onion person. They have to be like really like tender for me. And these are great. They almost melt in your mouth.
Yep.
Taste the beef from the bouillon. I get the butter, the cheese, of course. You can't go wrong with cheese.
Never.
And some of this slaw. See, I like when the cabbage and everything is still a little crunchy. I like the texture. The dressing, though, is what really makes this. It's creamy, it's acidic, it's a little sweet. So good. Alright, guys, well, I thank you for joining me in the kitchen once again. We're going to finish up our meal here. But I encourage you to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit me up in the comment section. And until next time.
1, 2, 3.